And we are live. Gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Mecca of Banter podcast, summer edition. You know, we're in the heat of the summer right now, both figuratively and literally. It is hot as hell in St. Louis right now. I got in my car after work today and it said 102 degrees on my little radar. That is not what we're feeling. But nevertheless, we're here on a Monday night ready to talk some footy from around the world. I am this week's host at Henry Wind on Twitter. My name's Henry Wind, and it's a great week to be a Manchester United fan because Connor Sindobri. Tell us why, brother.
Rude Venestroy.
Yes, sir.
Well, fellas, we may bring the signature iconic Vodafone jerseys back with Rude Venestroy. So it's a good day. It's always a great day to be a Manchester United fan. It's your boy Dopes checking in. I have to say, fellas, I was a little bit mad that I couldn't come on here and bitch last week, but I'm back with a couple St. Louis City performances. I don't know about you fellas, but without Prem, I've been enjoying the Euros, and my work days have consumed almost nothing but the Euros. So it's been pretty solid for me so far. It's good to be here. Good to be here. Good to see you fellas.
I love having you here, my brother. Lucas Winkleman, how you doing, big guy?
What's up, boys? Yeah, it's Winks here. You can find me on Twitter at LCW21. Same for Dobes. I was in California all last week for work, and thankfully Southwest had live TV, so I was able to watch the Euros on the way down and on the way back, and kind of having it on my phone a little bit when I could during meetings. But yeah, outside of that, I know we'll talk about it, but City are pitiful. Go USA.
You tell him, brother. Forgot and forgot you, you know?
Yeah, forgot.
We're out here.
Yeah, cheers.
Hey, Flinger, how we doing, big guy?
You know, we're doing good. Similarly, like the other two boys, I've been watching a lot of the Euros, and similarly like them, I've thoroughly been enjoying it. You know, not having a team that's really represented by you in a tournament and being able to watch footy non-biasedly, I enjoy every once in a while. And it's nice, obviously, after watching the atrocious performances that have been displayed by St. Louis City of late. But hey, we're still here for it, and I'm always happy to talk. And you can find me on Twitter at Hafey4.
Has Chelsea signed another? What they signed? 3 or 4 like random Brazilian kids today,
yeah,
or like
random 17-year-old Brazilians that are apparently the next Ronaldinho. All 3 of them, you know.
They're all goated.
Hey, we're here.
Sure.
I don't know, obviously you guys aren't doing it, but like I, of course, once a signing happens, immediately try to find as much highlights I possibly can on the people. And the highlights that I'm getting on these Chelsea kids are like, they look like CYC games that like they're just happening to ball out and scoring 3 goals. And I'm like, what are we watching here?
Trust.
You're literally watching goal. That's what it is.
Yes. Literally.
That's insane.
So we'll see how those go. But yes,
I'm so excited for like
active.
I feel like every year I look forward to like the season preview episode that we do because like I never know what you're going to say. Like because Chelsea could sign 50 people in a transfer window and you just have no idea.
Hey, do you remember what I said last time? I said anything better than 12th I would be happy. And look where we are.
Look at you go.
Hey,
look at you go. Last but certainly not least, Mr. Liverpool himself, Bucci Man. How we doing this week?
I'm glad to be here. A lot of good stuff to talk about. The Euros games have been insane the last few days with these 98th minute goals.
Italy, baby.
Hungary, too.
Yeah, bro.
Hungary saved their Euro yesterday, scoring in 101 minutes. So some great games. I'm excited to talk about it.
And don't forget.
Just get out of the way, dude. Just get out of the way. Spain's been great. We get it. Spain's been great. We get it. We get it, dude. Spain's been great.
Spain has been great.
And don't forget,
I still think
your big man up top, Darwin Nunez, got on the score sheet last night for Uruguay. That's a big goal.
Scored a great goal.
Yeah, dude. That's
great
huge.
Goal.
Yeah, do it in a uniform.
Dreaded Darwin, man.
Yeah, the performance has to match the hairstyle. So
don't like the hair.
Well, fellas, I am glad to see each and every one of you. As mentioned by you, we have a double fixture to dive into with St. Louis City, dropping points in both games with a loss to Colorado and a tie against Atlanta. We have some Euro news to dive into with the tournament there. And lastly, we have the Copa America. But fellas, before we dive into that, it's my pleasure to announce that smooth sack summer is officially upon us. When you're playing in the summer sun, make sure you're groomed from pubes to bum. From pubes to bum, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to our friends over at Manscaped, you can make this season your smoothest yet. Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is the ultimate bundle to keep your boys downstairs cool while looking hot. Looking at you, Butch, while looking hot. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer and get 20% off plus free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and use code MECCA20. That's MECCA20. And it's summertime, fellas, and the trimming is easy. Thank you, Manscaped.
I'm making it mandatory that we do a pre-show ad read so that I don't just not know what's coming every single time.
I was about to say, the products are insane, but the advertising,
funny.
We'll see.
So I want to give a shout out to Jason Snyder. A couple of us know Jason. He texted me last week after the pod and it was like, man, your guys' ad reads are like really killing it lately. Like, I don't know who comes up with these. And I was like, definitely not us. They said it. He's like, wait, really? He's like, I thought that you guys were all just talking shit. Like, what are we going to say this week? I'm like, no. Like, oh, it would be great if we did.
No, we are that clever. What are you talking about, Hen?
Smooth Sack Summer. I would not come up with that. But Smooth Sack Summer, I'm changing our Twitter bio to Smooth Sack
That's
Summer.
a hashtag.
Yeah.
Triple S, baby. Triple S.
Make sure you have deodorant on them.
I mean, yeah.
The best.
The balls, bro. Let's talk St. Louis City. Reluctantly, we're going to talk St. Louis City. Wednesday, Saturday match weeks, which are always interesting for this crew. But let's start off with the loss at home against Colorado, a 3-0 loss to Jordy Mihailovic, who is a baller. He's a baller, played in Europe for the last several years. We should never be giving up a hat trick to that guy and that team. Some quick notes. We started in a back five, very clearly a back five, not even a pseudo back five. We had Markanich playing a left center back. We had Akil Watts playing a left wing back. A completely different look to this team. That's where I'm going to set it up. What are our thoughts leaving this game on Wednesday?
Going into it, when similarly to how you were just saying, the back five, I was definitely intrigued. I wouldn't say I was going to sit here and be like, oh, I think this is going to work brilliantly, but I was happy we were switching something up on the defensive side of things. But boy, did we miss with it. Like, I don't think it worked at all. I'm happy that we tried and we can move past it and learn that that is not the way to go. But I think our marking was almost even worse. Like, I feel like when we only have 2 center backs, sometimes passing off players is a challenge for us. So when there's 3 of us, 3 of them, I was thinking it was going to be better, but I don't think that was the case at all. And I know you have it on this sheet here, but I think Lowen missing that pen kind of drastically changed the momentum for us and affected us in the long haul.
Yeah, I think we're looking at a completely different game if he converts that penalty.
Yeah.
I mean, 100%. But even from the get-go, like coming into this game with sort of the center back injuries that we had, like we all kind of knew it was going to be something different. I didn't necessarily expect kind of a back five. And I think this is one of those games where sort of everybody going in. Obviously, Colorado's had a pretty decent first half of the season. I think they're sitting in like 5th or 4th right now. To where it's like we kind of just wanted something out of it. And yes, the Lewin missed pen obviously has drastically changed the game, but it was again just a continuation that what we have seen. Like for one, we did move to a back five, but at most of the time it was a very, very unorganized back five, with not a true leader in that midfield 3. And you have wingbacks like Watts, who's playing sort of the utility guy playing left back, and Kojima sort of playing as a false 9 or whatever he is. It's just a ton of guys playing out of position, and we didn't exactly make it difficult on Colorado to go ahead and get 3 goals. That's kind of what we had to expect.
I think that's where I get so confused. Is like, if we're playing a back five, why not be organized? Like, I think like that's the goal when you play that formation, and just for no one to take ownership over it made 0 sense.
Well, just commit to it. Just commit to it. If we're going to commit and say that, we don't have our best 11, like we think the best way for us to get a point or 3 points is going to be to potentially sit in and play a little bit on the counter. Like commit to it and be good at it. Like we've seen teams be able to do that on 3 days notice, 4 days notice enough times, put on a whiteboard, put on a chalkboard, do it once or twice in training and a walkthrough. And these guys are high enough players to where they should be able to do it. But instead we continuously come out and look disorganized week after week.
looking on both sides of the ball too. I don't know if it was Henry that tweeted it or Hoover Dobes, one of the more active guys on our Twitter, but I was scrolling Twitter during the game and saw one of you guys tweet like Klaus needs to be challenged for
Yeah,
his
totally.
spot, and I feel like I resonated with that so hard. Like, yes, we just talked about the back five chaos, but on the other side of the ball, outside of Lowing missing his PK, we didn't really offer a ton of big chances on the other end either. And I think that whichever one of you said that hit the nail on the head. That like with Big Sam not even being in the reserves half the
Yep.
time.
That's a story in and of itself.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's with us continuing to tie or drop 3 points week after week. What is it? 8 weeks in a row now.
I was gonna say we haven't won a game since May 11th.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been like 10
you
10 winless games.
You have to have somebody challenging your striker for a spot and making them work harder. I'm sure he's wanting to work harder on his own or whatever, but somebody's got to challenge him for that and force him to work a little harder.
Yeah, I think that's clear, and I actually think that we do a pretty decent job of defending him on this podcast. Not that like he's listening to get praise
What
from
up,
us,
Klaus?
but like I think we do a good job of what's up, dude? I think we do a good job of defending him, but like I think that game, the intention behind saying something like that was just like he was just being wasteful. Like he looked like a guy that wasn't going to lose his spot. He looked like a guy that had nothing to worry about, and that's so frustrating as a fan. It's
And his mannerisms are starting to like get negative. I know that's such like a small part of the game.
That's contagious throughout the whole team right now.
But I was gonna
it's
say,
everybody's doing it.
As we all know, as players who have played in the game, like those things matter and they affect the team as a whole.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it may not be very obvious and like right in the moment, but like over time, if like our striker is consistently showing frustration on the field, it is not good for our overall team whatsoever. Because one, not only is it taking him out of the play, it's then forcing our teammates to then think about it the next time, which is not what we want at all.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a rookie as a striker, like a strike partner sitting there. You know what I mean?
Working his ass off, and then this man's like throwing his arms up. It's like, all right, come on, dude.
I did want to give there was two things that I took away from this game as like somewhat positive. I thought Kojima was great again. He's playing this really weird shadow striker position. It's not his position, but I that's where Carnell's using him.
He's doing a job, and I love it.
Yeah, to do the dirty work of pressing up top. But what was fascinating was as the game went on, he continued to drop further and further back. So he went from playing that like second striker to playing an 8 to playing a 6 and finished the game as a 6. And mind you, Carnell was taking off guys that had played less minutes than Kojima, that have more experience than Kojima and were older than Kojima, to leave him on the field and then transition him back to a 6. Like, it shows a lot of trust in his development, but at some point I do worry a little bit that if he's playing all of these minutes in a team that isn't doing all the right stuff, is that going to be good for his long-term growth? And that is something that we won't really get to be able to accurately address until about a year from now to see where he's panning out. But that is a worry of mine. So I did want to give a shout out to Kojima, because I think being at City Park on that Wednesday night, I could walk away being like, that was one of the most frustrating games that I've watched again. But like, he impressed me the whole time. And then Akil Watts coming in as a left back, and when you're playing left wing back, you're not necessarily in there for your defensive acumen. That's why you have a left center back in there. But really, the dangerous moments that we created came from him breaking the ball out of that left wing back position, splitting a couple guys. He went on 2 or 3 different runs for the whole length of the field that we haven't seen out of the left back position all season. So not necessarily saying that he deserves to be our starting left back, but you kind of see that this like center midfielder turned left wing back, right wing back, he definitely has a spot on this team. And there's a reason why he was one of the guys called up from the City 2 team, 2 years ago. So there was a bright spot to look at from there, which brings us to our Saturday game, where we did end up getting a point. And we saw a lot of rotation. And starting off with the two City 2 boys that we had Jay Reed at left back and we had Michael Wentzel as his center back, holding it down. I thought they were two of our more solid players on the night. And it definitely gave the home fans something to cheer for, watching those guys work their dicks off. And I did say on the pod last week that any time over the next month that we pick up a point, I will give props because I don't think that we're going to pick up any. So shout out to St. Louis for scoring a point, or excuse me, winning a point. And we got fucking hosed by the referees. It was one of the worst refereeing displays I've ever seen in a game.
We went global. Like the clip of like typically all the city stuff like never makes itself global, but the fact that all of the English accounts, all of the Sky Sports, everybody was posting the clip of that referee announcing it. I mean, I'm typically one where you can never fully blame the refs, and this one again, I don't think you can fully blame the refs. But it wasn't even just the call, going 45 seconds back to find the Lewin foul. Like there was missed calls within that game, calls that were called fouls that weren't actually fouls throughout that entire game. And this is another one. And like you said, like we never really expect us to do anything, and you never really knew what to expect out of Reed and Wentzel. But in my opinion, comparatively to what we have seen from the City team in those positions, they exceeded all expectations and then some. I thought Reed was fantastic, and he sort of brought a different element to what we typically have. And I thought Wentzel, in terms of what we typically see from Parker, he kind of did that job on that right-sided center back as well. Loved to put in a tackle, a little bit more confident playing out of the back. And again, it's another one of those where you just don't create enough chances. And we saw Thor come into the lineup for this one, but we don't create enough clear-cut chances. I have to say that as much as like I had to sit there and when Thor scored, it was kind of one of those where I was like excited, but also like I don't want anybody to have anything good to say about this dude at all. So like, please call it back, and I ended up calling it back. I guess we have to be happy with a point. I mean, obviously Atlanta is probably missing, their best player. So probably should have taken 3, but at this point, I'm happy with a point, I guess.
We before the game, I had this like really weird feeling that Thor was going to score, and I tweeted it on the account, and like
you did, dude.
Someone responded to it being like, did the Mecca get kidnapped? Like, because obviously we talk about Thor all the time. And so like I told Paige and Jake before the game that like as soon as like I think that he's gonna score, as soon as that goal scored, my brother looked at me and was like, oh my fucking God. And I was like, I'm saying, bro. And of course it got pulled back. But I think Reed and Wentzel just gave us what we wanted to see. It appeared to me that they were two guys that were kind of like above the frustration, if that makes sense. Like it looked like they were really connected to their teammates. It didn't look like they were out of sync with anyone, but it looked like they weren't yet in that inner circle to where they were like throwing up their arms, getting frustrated. They just came in, did their job. Jay Reed was throwing in crosses from the left, didn't connect with every single one, but was doing it in a way that he just trusted the guys to be there on the end of it. And that's what I love to see. They made 2 tackles. Reed. Yeah, dude. I mean, who doesn't, They made 2 tackles in the second half kind of by the supporter section, and both of them gave like a let's fucking go to the supporter section. I think as a defender, I want to go on record and say that if you're a defender from St. Louis City and you ever make a slide tackle in front of the supporter section, you should always turn around to the supporter section and yell, let's fucking go every single time. That gets the boys hyped. But I think that they look great.
We're defenders out here.
Yeah, when you look back at the story of that game, like I think that's what it was. Like I think you take the learnings from there. Now it will be interesting. The MLS is like the league of the craziest roster rules in the history of forever. But there is like a certain amount of appearances that a player can have before they have to sign a first team contract, which is why Johnny Klein is now on a first team contract with the absence of Alm and Salio. But I'll be curious if Wentzel or Reed get that call up into the first team, because there were times where I was watching Wentzel and I'm like, I would rather have him on the bench than Nerwinski. I would rather have him on the bench I would rather have him playing right now than Tim Parker. Like there's interest in that. And then Jay Reed had a great game. That's awesome. I'm not taking that away from him, but can he string it together over the series of a couple of games? And I just don't want St. Louis fans to get too high already on these two guys when they had a great performance once, but every single one of those guys on our defense have had a good performance at one time. So like, just be cautious on like how we feel about it.
Also, shout out our boy Johnny Klein. making
Yeah, bro.
the roster as well. Slew boy. Big shouts to him. I thought he put in a good shift when he came on.
He's gonna need some minutes for sure just to get used to. I think the size difference.
100%.
Like he's. I think John. I think he's a special player. I mean, he does get the speed. He'll be great, but I hope that Carnell continues to give him, let him come on in the 70th, work for 20, and maybe if he earns a start, start. But I do love him, but you can definitely tell that there's
100%.
there's a little bit of a size difference there for sure. He's got to get used to.
What I will say is that is true. After he played on Saturday, he went back to the City 2 team Sunday night and scored a goal.
Scored. Scored.
Yeah.
And the thing is that's what you want. You want guys that are on that fringe, on that cusp, scoring and playing like the man of the match for that City 2 team. I can't tell you how many times last year we would watch City 2 to watch Miggy get more minutes. We just want to see what he has to offer. He just looked like one of the kids that was out there. He didn't look like the best player on the field. When you watch Kojima play with the City 2 team, although I don't think he'll play with the City 2 team a single time for the rest of the season, but when he was the first part of this season, he was clearly thinking the game on a different level than all those other guys. I want to see Klein keep scoring for City 2. I want to see Jay Reed continuing to progress for City 2. I want Wentzel to keep being that captain on the field. So as long as those guys can stay hungry, whenever they come up to the first team, they're gonna want it. There was a big clip on top of the referee clip.
I was wondering if you were going to talk about this.
Yeah. There's a really, really fascinating clip going around social media right now that happened at the very end of the game. The camera cut to Berkey at the end of the game, and it's like a 15-second clip where I'm no lip reader. Not a professional at that, but what it looks like he's saying is something to the extent of, I can't fucking play with this guy anymore. I can never tell if he wants the ball or not. I don't know what the fuck to do with him. At the end of the game, clearly on camera, caught in 4K. And I think that just is a testament a little bit to the frustration that we're seeing from these players. And I'm hoping, I really hope that this isn't blind ignorance, but I hope that when that July 17th transfer window opens and we get 3 guys coming in the door right away, I hope something changes there. But right now I feel like everyone is so frustrated and I don't know what to expect.
Just to play a different side, just because we don't know for sure if that's what he said, it looks like what he said. There are other people who think he said, I can't fucking play with this guy, and it was directed at the referee. So you know what I mean? So it doesn't necessarily mean it's directed at Blom, or because that's who it look. Everybody, there's rumors that it's either Blom or the referee, and truthfully, both would make sense. But I just want to make sure that we're not sitting here. You know what I mean?
So that's
also think Dobes is being protective.
But I think that it's a funny thing where it's like, we've been on Twitter for years under the Mecca of Banter account. We've been tweeting, and then this week between Wednesday's game and Saturday's game, we've had a couple of tweets that fucking 47,000 people have been interacting with or whatever, and then 2 of them were seemingly negative stuff about what's Berkey saying here. I'm like, man, I don't want our account to turn into this thing, but at the same time it's we're just showing what's happening. But but it is interesting. I do think, and this is all speculation, I don't have any facts to support this is just me being a fan watching it. I think that Carnell's just on thin ice. I don't actually know that to be true, but we've said Carnell out for a while now. I mean, Nick, I want to say that you were probably the first one. I think it was at the end of the season recap, or maybe it was at the preseason look ahead that we talked
about the first couple of games.
Well, I don't even think it was that far. I think it was before the season started. We talked about who do we need to see more of, who needs to earn their spot, and you said Carnell. And I think that at the time all of us were like, whoa, he just got a new contract. I think that was whatever, but you were saying that you haven't been convinced yet. And I think that you've only solidified that case over the last 6 months.
I agree. Yeah, the no identity to end the season and the no identity now, like I don't think the man has a plan. I think he rode the it's our first season coattail for a long time, and the buzz around the team and the buzz with the fans and everyone being in good spirits. And now that he kind of had a fresh start in the next season, I think we've kind of seen what his product is. And I don't think that is something I want to continue to have at St. Louis City.
Yeah,
you look at like I always compare this. The reason I haven't like completely lost hope in City, like typically, like if this was Man United at this point in the season, obviously it's kind of lost hope for sort of anything to happen the rest of this year. You know what I mean? Like just because of the way that the MLS is set up, like we saw Sporting Kansas City last year. All of a sudden, the last they'd be terrible. Then like the last fourth of the season, all of a sudden get hot.
Yep.
And now we have like reinforcements and players that are coming in that, you know, our squad or our starting 11 could potentially look a lot differently than it does now. My whole point on Carnell is based off what we've seen in him, nothing has shown me that when we do get new pieces that he's going to be the guy that can make them click and sort of make us go on that run.
Yeah,
and I think that's what's more concerning to me is like there is positivity because just with the way that the playoffs are set up and the fact that if you get in, you're in and you can, you know what I mean? Then it becomes down to, you know, a 3-game series or whatever the hell it is. My concern is when we do get these new pieces, is he the guy that like, by the time that we get those new pieces, we may not have time to waste. Like we may need to go on a run or a string of games of winning.
We're getting close
not
to
dropping
we need to
points
start
for a
going on
while.
a run.
Yeah,
exactly. And is he that guy that can fit those pieces together to say, all right, these are the pieces that we signed. Can I integrate them right away? And then once they're integrated, can we just win? I think that's my concern with Carnell. Is he showed us nothing, and then therefore, like if we want to get something out of the season, I just don't see how he's the guy to just take us to be able to maybe getting a playoff spot.
I think best case scenario, we get these new guys in. You know, Bradley shows. Maybe it even happens before that. You know, these new guys come in July 17th, and maybe before that, Carnell's already gone. And my guess is that they would give like an interim manager position to Hackworth. Like, you know, he was the City 2 coach for a year, took him to the finals. Now he's an assistant manager. My guess is they would do an interim manager with Hackworth. And see if he can earn it, you know, the back half of the season and see what he can do with it. And maybe he turns into the guy. Otherwise, we're going into the transfer window into what would be like the summer for Europe, but what is actually like the winter for the United States. We're going in managerless, and that is a whole other can of worms. But I think best case scenario is we get a new set of ideas as an interim manager for the rest of the season. We play Vancouver at the weekend at 9:30. I have no idea what to expect of it.
It's Saturday at 9:30.
Sure is, brother. Sure is. I'm gonna be hitting the dance floor out of
we have 15 games left.
Yeah,
and
we're a little bit over
down
halfway.
6 points.
Yeah.
To playoffs.
Yeah, which is doable, by the way. Like in the
It's
MLS,
doable.
so
but if we
doable.
continue to not have any points in the past, well, not any points. But haven't had 3 points in 10 games. Like it will be difficult.
I would just say
those draws will come back to help us, fellas.
Oh, bro. Again, this is just pure speculation. Pure speculation.
That's the Hoover line every podcast. I feel like he finds a way to get that in there every single episode.
Yeah. I just think that if we lose 1 or 2 more, he's gone. I don't think that that's just what I think.
I unfortunately don't think that's the case. I think he kind of has St. Louis City by the balls right now as far as the club. Like I think he's locked in for this year and possibly next.
No shot.
I hope you guys are right, and I hope we're cutthroat. I hope that when we don't think the manager's right, we can get rid of him immediately. But I do not think that is the case, and I think he's going to be prolonged until it's like so blatantly obvious that he needs to go. Like I don't.
Maybe okay. Here's this. Maybe this is like reverse jinx, because all season last season you're like, I don't think Pochettino's the guy. But just give him time. Just give Pochettino time. And
why are we bringing them up?
And maybe right now you're like, I don't think that it's going to happen. And maybe this will be a reverse that you think it's not going to happen, and it's going to happen. I don't know.
I hope it does. I've been the one who's been Carnell out for the longest.
I just think from an organizational standpoint, there is like a duty to the fan base and to the players to shake some shit up And I think that is the only thing, like, because by the way, Nick, I was in your camp like a couple weeks ago of like, I just don't think that the ownership is going to do it. And I don't know, over the last couple of weeks, I've been like, I think that it's just getting so drastic that the ownership team is going to have to shake something up.
And I wasn't at City Park in this last game, but
Yeah.
the last time I was at City Park, me saying Carnell out was like the most outrageous statement anyone had ever said.
I remember that.
Everyone I
Yeah.
was walking
We were
up
at the
to
game
was
together.
like,
yeah,
they were like, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
no, nowhere near. Give him more time. Like, that's why I think he's not going to, because I think the majority of our fan base, the majority of people in St. Louis, think he's doing okay because he had such a great first year, which we all know it wasn't that brilliant. Like, he made the playoffs and then pulled a stinker, and then now the next season he's fighting to even make it into the
first
top
half of the
9.
season. Yeah.
I'll
So,
just
that's
say-
why I think the fan base is all behind him.
I'll just say, Bradley, if you listen to this podcast or potentially see any of our clips somewhere, I'll just say this: TikTok, man, TikTok. It's one of those we believe in you, but also TikTok. We need results instantly, my friend. We need results instantly.
You're on the clock, brother. Fellas, let's talk Euros. The Euros have been electric. The Euro 2020. What do you mean? Euro 2024 has been awesome.
Dude, the Euros have been electric.
It's been
been
good, but
great.
one of the things I wanted to start it off with, and me and Henry were kind of talking about it before, I think the games we didn't expect to be that good are electric, and the ones that we thought were going to be bangers have been snooze fests. Because some of those smaller country games, yes, those have been so much fun to watch, but some of those big name games that I was expecting to see a bunch of good footy, I've been like, what the hell is this? So that's the only was
Dobes
why
and I went to Amsterdam for France, Netherlands, and sweated out a 0-0.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
it was great.
bro.
It was awesome.
That's okay. We were expecting freaking 3 goals each.
The first team, we have a couple of teams that we want to talk about specifically, and then we'll get into more generic. The first team I want to hear about from the man, Butch. Tell us about Spain, brother. They've been so fun to watch.
Morata,
dude. For what it's worth, Brian Butchart has been telling us for years that Morata is not a cap, despite everyone believing that he is. He's not a cap. And Morata scored first game.
Is cap.
Morata scored first game of the first Euros game, and I was like, fuck, we're going to hear about this for another 2 years until the World Cup. It was ridiculous.
Literally, he's going to be talking about it in the World Cup.
Yeah. But Butchie, what are your thoughts on Spain this year? Who are you liking? Is there anything concerning? Give us the rundown.
Well, first thing is, I think there's no doubt that after the first 3 games, they should be considered one of the teams to win it. I think they can.
Yeah.
I think they can win it. And I think the biggest difference is the style is not the same anymore. If you've watched the games, they have such a youthful team, very inexperienced team, but they're electric to watch. There's so much speed and pace in the team, and they play very vertical. They're not knocking the ball around and slowing the game down and trying to pick you apart piece by piece like the old Spains. These guys are going at you. They're going over the top. They're putting balls in the channels, and they're using those speedy wingers to create so many chances. And you got to talk about Cucurella. I mean, this dude.
Bro.
This dude is so
insane.
He's so bad.
What happens when you take that jersey off? When you get that weight off your shoulders, everybody goes and balls, dude.
And then he goes and balls at Spain.
Dude, honestly, Nick, if I'm you, if you get this version of Cucurella, that is such a boost.
That's what we got for the last 6 games when we won all 6 of them.
I'm saying if you get it for
left.
If you can get it for 38 games, you're in a really good spot for creating more goals from a Chelsea perspective, from a wingback who can get you probably at least 5 goals, 5 assists doing what he's doing right now, because he is looking really good in Spain. But obviously, I think the biggest thing for me with this team is the biggest surprise is Nico Williams. I mean, this kid is
electric.
This kid is, in my opinion, I think this tournament is his bargain chip for a big move if he wants it. And I think a lot of clubs are going to swoop in for him because he's been electric. We've talked about Yamal. I mean, he's 16 years old, but this kid's insane. I mean, he's unbelievable. Rodri's been really good, even though he was suspended for today's game. But the first two games, Rodri just is a natural heir to Busquets. He slows the game down when they need to, but he's just unbelievable at the small details of the game. But no, they're definitely a favorite to win it. They haven't conceded a goal.
Yeah.
So they're 3 games, 3 wins, no goals conceded. Obviously, it'll get harder as the knockout stages go, but I see this team going to the semifinals for sure. And if they get to the semifinals, it's a toss-up. It could be a coin flip, man. They could get this.
Just tell De La Fuente to get the fucking captain's armband off of Murata and onto Rodri's arm. That's all we need, dude. That's all we need.
I will agree. That was a little bit of a
what the Murata
question mark. Yeah, I just think it's because what's crazy to think about. He's the most experienced player in this team, and that's crazy to think about because they didn't take Ramos, they didn't take some guys who've been around for so long.
Yeah, Carvajal. That's what
Carvajal
I thought. It
too. Yeah, I'm not a big.
Give it to Rodri. Rodri hasn't lost a game since he was 3 years old.
That's true.
This Yamal kid though. He might be the real deal. Like
I think
I've never
it's
seen
just
a 16-year-old be that
balling
mature
with braces, baby. Balling with braces.
Well, I think about
he's
Bush,
impressive.
That's the age group you coach. You know what I'm saying? So you work with 16-year-old every day, but you don't work with that 16-year-old. That kid is on a different level.
He had 1 or 2 chances where he took on one defender and then got to the second one and then reset. And I was like, any other 16-year-old is immediately trying to beat that second one and turning over the ball. But he that was the part of his game that I think I'm so impressed with is you watch the entire game not knowing his age and you tell me afterwards oh, guess his age. I'm probably guessing 25. He played at the maturity level of that age range, and he did not look like a 16-year-old. But he's as electric as a 16-year-old, and he's fun to watch.
Last thing I'll say is if you're in Spain's position, the way the bracket's looking is not in their favor because they would meet Germany in the quarterfinals, and that's a team that I don't think you want to play until a semifinal game. You want to avoid them until that last 4. So that would, if they do meet, that Spain could meet their match in Germany, who are obviously hosting. So it'll be interesting to see what'll happen in the next round and if those two teams go on.
Yeah, it's a perfect segue. I actually want to talk about Germany next. I think that there's a couple front runners for winning this tournament, and I think that Spain and Germany are 2 of the tops. Germany's been great, obviously spearheaded by a bunch of guys who have been there, done that, but also some young up and coming stars as well. Gundogan's been amazing. He's been really good. Toni Kroos has been really good. But Musiala, man, Musiala has been fantastic. Tactics with Michael was on a couple weeks ago talking about how Musiala was going to be the player of the tournament. I don't know, man. Through a couple games with Germany, he's looking pretty damn good. I can't lie. He's looked pretty fantastic.
Winks isn't here, so I'm happy I get to say this while he's not here. But I just fucking hate Germany now because of Kai Havertz. That's just plain and simple as it is. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, and I think that they're overrated. And some of their play of late, I've been oh, they're kind of getting away with some lucky goals here and there, and I haven't been thoroughly impressed like I have been with Spain. I understand why they're obviously somewhat of a favorite. I just think there's other teams that could take it to Germany, and that's based on some of their performances.
Start my dog Fulkerg over Havertz, baby. The big center forward is back. The big center forward is back. He is, dude. Didn't he score?
Yeah,
scored both games.
Yeah, I was saying he scored twice.
Yeah, he's great.
For me, Musiala has been amazing, but I still think if Germany go to the final, player of the tournament's Toni Kroos, man. I mean, this dude is.
You just got to give it to him for the fucking.
You're just patting your balloon or a shout. You're just giving the balloon.
This is Butch. This is Butch's I have an agenda.
Yeah, this is an agenda.
Hold on. Watching all 3 games though, dude, if you take him out of the team, and I want you to think about the last 3 major tournaments that Germany have been in. Okay, the last one in 2022, they didn't have Kroos, and they got bounced in the group stage. They just cruised their group stage, minus the Switzerland chaos, but they cruised through, and Kroos literally dictated every single game by himself. by himself. He completed 324 passes in a group stage, which is the most in Euros history. That's insane.
Brother, I'm looking at it just because I have the accuracy. The game against Scotland, he was 101 of 102. And then I think he was – I'm trying to find the second one. I got to find it because I think the one against Switzerland, I think he only missed 4 passes. I think he was 93%.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one
Swiss game,
against the Swiss game, he was 93%. Let's look at the last one. The Hungary game, he was – let's see.
Hungary, he was perfect. I think he was 100% pass completion.
No, Hungary, he was, let's see, 124 of 131, 95 pass completion.
Insane.
131.
Insane.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this dude's controlling games on his own, and you can tell that Germany, like, they did not have this kind of player, and him alone makes them such a better team. So they're dangerous now that they have him, for sure.
Yeah, depending on what they want to do, like in the midfield, who's complementing who, whether you have Gundogan in there, you have Andrick in there, whoever it is, like I think that it'll just dictate whoever they play. You know, I think that it's going to be a huge thing. My favorite thing just about watching Spain and Germany both is that they're fun. They're fun right now. They're scoring goals. Even when they're not scoring goals, the attacking movements look great. There's a lot of passion in both teams, which kind of is like the exact opposite of the third team we're going to talk about, which is England, where England is one of the most boring teams of the tournament. And I have to imagine, Nick, that behind your statement of like teams that we thought were going to be really good have looked really bad, I have to believe that England is towards the top of that of like disappointing teams for you.
100%. And I will sound like a broken record, but Gareth Southgate clearly doesn't know what he's doing. The talent that is on that side. I will also say I forgot who. I think LJ may have threw it in the Mecca. At what point do you, as a player, just say screw whatever the coach is saying and like let's just start balling? Because clearly whatever they're doing is not working. One thing that really, really, really pissed me off in the last game, and you guys probably knew it was coming, is Cole Palmer was left on the bench, and the people that he brought into the game were Jared Bowen and Esse. So like,
and his teammate, right?
Oh yeah, Conor Gallagher as well. But that's also, they brought Conor in because Trent was playing atrocious, and Conor had to save the midfield in some way. But you put the young player of the year, most goal contributions by anyone on the bench, and you sit him for the first 2 games. And I know I could be biased, but like I think he would come in and immediately impact that team and provide some creativity, because I think a lot of them are just playing really too simple and they have too many big names trying to control the ball. Like Phil's trying to get on the ball a lot, Jude's trying to get on the ball a lot, and I think Cole could come in and kind of provide a little bit of the creativity to help them link those two.
I was surprised too, man. I mean, Cole could have been in there. I thought that, like, if I'm being biased, Kobe Manu could have been in there for Trent. I thought Adam Wharton could have been in there for Trent, and it would have unlocked Declan Rice to play a little bit more box to box.
Kobe Manu not playing is another crime. Like, I think he should be getting minutes that he is not.
To me, it's just stay healthy, my friend. Stay
true.
healthy. If he's not going to use you, dude, if he's not going to use you, stay healthy.
Yeah, but to be fair, I may need to switch my mentality for Cole Palmer. So thanks.
Yeah,
I mean, Southgate's an idiot. Like if he uses Kobe, he may use him as like an 8 versus have him. You know what I mean? Like there's no guarantee he usesOle Palmer correctly either.
The talent that he's bringing, and then you're throwing a Trent into it just blows my mind.
You know
it was interesting because go ahead, Butchie.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I think we really learned last week, or 4 days ago when England last played, I think we really learned how much courage Southgate does not have as a man and as a coach by blaming the loss on Kalvin Phillips.
Yeah, that was embarrassing.
That's another thing we didn't even get started about.
Like, hold on, it's like this man brought in my opinion, he has the deepest, most talented roster in the tournament.
I think that he's ever had too. Like,
they draw,
his most talented team he's ever had.
And they draw, and then he goes to the interview and he blames it on a guy who literally hasn't played football in 12 months, basically. He has not played. So the fact that you don't have the courage to take the ownership yourself and say, it's me, you're blaming it on a man who's not there, saying you don't have a replacement for him. Dude, you picked the team. So you can't show a lack of courage and discipline on yourself to like blame it on somebody else and on this. But dude, you got to take ownership of it, and you got to figure out the formula and get it done quick. So I lost so much respect for him when that came out. So much
I
respect.
didn't think it was real. I thought it was a meme.
So did
Yeah,
I.
same.
I thought that it was fake.
Same. I will say, I don't know if you guys saw this. It was a pretty cool, like, and this is one of those, like, Gary Neville doing what Gary Neville does, but, like, he's a media pundit and he's also a pawn for the English national team to kind of say what he has to say. But he also, like, made this point to where he couldn't point out the sole reason for, like, when he had, you know, probably if you want to call it the second best England team of all time, he had Lampard, Scholes, Hargreaves, you know, John Terry, Rio Ferdinand, like Wayne Rooney, Michael Owen, like, they sometimes would find themselves, even in those games, and they had no idea why, sitting deep. Like they just, no matter how much talent they had, they found themselves sitting deep, and they couldn't wonder why. Like they couldn't figure out why. But to me, that's just an excuse. It's like if you look at the different ways that like we're seeing Harry Kane be used, it doesn't take a rocket science to know that Harry Kane likes to drop deep in the midfield. And I saw some good analysis the other day. It's like, what is Harry Kane like? When Harry Kane drops deep in the midfield, he misses that Sonny. You know, he misses that somebody to make that run in behind. And when you play a Phil Foden who likes to come inside, and you play a Saka, this is no knock on Saka, but Saka's best games with the balls at his feet, 1v1, creating, combining. That limits Harry Kane in the role that he can do. And so, yes, there's some of that to where sometimes in big moments in tournaments, the game just gets sucked to you. But at the same time, like he's putting Declan Rice in a position where he hasn't necessarily had to play at Arsenal at all. Like Jude Bellingham is not playing like a number 10 like he would play because that's not like Harry Kane and him aren't combining. So he's not playing the right pieces in the right area, and it's no secret. And nothing shows me even truthfully, like if Kobe Mainu comes in, like to me it's like they may look a little better, they may get a result, but like I don't think there's anything unless we see them win a game 4 or 5-0. I think he will always be underutilized in this talent. Because if England win the tournament, it's going to be they're going to get results. They may win 1 or 2-0. They may win, you know what I mean? They have players that in big moments can step up. But like I still think that they will be underperforming for the talent that they have.
I also don't think we need a 4 or 5-0 result. I just need a dominating performance by them.
Yeah, controlling the game.
Exactly. Like if you win 1-0, 2-0, and you dominate the possession and you're creating chances, it's like, oh yeah, by all means. But I think you hit it right on the head, Dobes, with like, why are they sitting so deep sometimes? They had like a screenshot of everyone's position on one of the goals, and it was like literally all 11 within like 20 yards of the 18. Like it was like everyone was combined right there. And that was so shocking to me, especially once again with all the talent they have. You wouldn't expect them to be that compact. You would expect them to spread
we're
the field
talking
out
about like not just top players, but like top soccer brains in the world. Like these guys should understand, you know what I mean? Like they should have the knowledge of where they should be. The fact that you have probably 3 of the best players in the world in your midfield, like literally in your midfield, and you can't string 3 passes together. Like that's a problem. No matter if your purpose is to sit in deep or not. If you can't string 3 passes together with that midfield 3, there's a much bigger issue there.
They also
Speaking,
they look nervous as fuck. I don't get it.
They do, for real. 100% they look nervous.
Speaking of memes, though, one of my buddies sent me one, or I guess a screenshot of an Instagram story from Joe Lally, who plays for Sydney FC, but he quoted one of the interview videos with Southgate and said, a lot of people slagging Southgate off, but you have to give him credit for making a group of world-class players look this horrendous. That's not easy.
True.
And I was like, that's good.
Man. I think this England team is calling out for one player and one player only, and that's Anthony Gordon. I think this dude would change the entire. He would change the
just entire, to run, just to fucking run, dude.
5 minutes ago, you said Kane misses his Sonny. That's your Sonny. He will 100%. Run. He is rapid. He will get in behind, and he will make you vertical and make you more unpredictable. You have to play him. They play tomorrow. So when this gets released tomorrow morning, England plays it too. If Anthony Gordon and Cole Palmer do not play tomorrow, then you have your answer as to what kind of coach Southgate is.
Bro, but that's what's so interesting is the fact that he's the only Kane plays that way. And Anthony Gordon is the only player on the roster that is that way. Like, I love Palmer. I love Foden. I love Saka. Like, I love them all. Anthony Gordon's the only guy with pace that likes playing behind. You can say Bowen, but they don't really utilize him like that for West Ham. Anthony Gordon's the only player that plays like that, and he has yet to play.
Yeah, he needs it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to learn a lot in the next 24 hours. We might be – I mean, it's possible that they don't even qualify tomorrow, depending on the results that happen. If they don't win –
Oh, that would be amazing. That would be
Oh,
amazing.
my God.
Dude, Slovenia's been balling. Like,
Yeah.
they don't have an easy game.
No.
Slovenia's been great.
It's not easy at all. But you know, as crazy as the Euros are, and they'll continue to be, this time next week we'll have a very different episode with a couple of shockers that have happened. Copa America has been not nearly as great, but the one game that we obviously want to touch on is United States in their opener. Hey. What's up?
Dos a Cero, baby. Dos a Cero.
I was going to say, something we haven't really talked about this entire episode is a good performance that we all got to watch.
Yeah, the U.S. played Bolivia and handily beat them. While it was only a 2-0 score line, they were great. They looked awesome.
So fucked they didn't get 3 goals. Fucked they didn't score 3 goals.
Is that the over?
It was line was 3.
Yeah.
It just hit the post. Pepe missed 2 sitters. Like,
the more I think about it now, that's hilarious.
A couple great things. Christian Pulisic was the most confident I've seen Christian Pulisic in couldn't even tell you how many years. There was a play that he did not score on. Great shot, didn't score, but it was a ball played over the top that he looked like he went into 4th and 5th gear to outrun this defender, cut inside even though he was getting fouled, and then get off a really good shot. It's the fastest I've ever seen Pulisic. It was the most confident I've ever seen Pulisic. It was great to see. It looks like that AC Milan move did wonders not only for his form, but also for his mentality. We got to see a great feature from Tyler Adams, even though people were on the fence on if he should be playing at all. But when you look across the line, you can't really call out a bad performance from anyone. It's exactly what you want to see against those lesser teams. Great goal. Great combinations. They were still figuring each other out a little bit, but even when you saw the midfield 3 get rotated out in the second half, all 3 of the subs looked awesome as well. So convincing victory for the U.S.
We got to find a way to put Musa in there. Like,
have to.
I know that with Adams and McKinney and Reyna, but like Musa adds that different element where he's our best ball progressor that we have on the team. The way that he just takes 2 touches and all of a sudden he covers 35 yards, like he was incredible. It's Greg has to find a way, because I know that McKinney, Adams, Reyna is kind of like what he'll go to. But to me, Musa is just a game changer. Like, that's the one critique I think I would have, is we got to find a way. I think we're a much better team when he's on the field.
I think the thing that's keeping the lineup though is actually Tim Weah. Because normally the normal progression would be to put Reyna out on the wing, but Tim Weah has been our most dangerous player. Like, he's not scoring all the goals, but
Weah's gross, man. When he can get it up to speed and still somehow use his feet that quickly.
He has a great touch too. Great first touch. We were pinging balls at him on the wing, and he was having to bring them down pretty nicely.
Yeah,
Robbo, ball, Reed, ball. Yeah.
I was impressed with Scally. He didn't do bad. Scally did good.
I saw this progression of what will be. Go ahead, Nikki.
I was going to say, it's not related to this game, but I saw this interview with Scally, and it was him talking about a group message he had before the Brazil game.
Yeah.
And all of the teammates, like Brendan Harrison, Pulisic, I believe, and like someone else, were just sending him Vinny Jr. highlights of Vinny just absolutely torching wingbacks.
Some shit we would do, just dickhead friends. Just hey, good luck, dude.
He was like, yeah. So I pretty much have seen every single dribble by Vinny Jr. ever in his career, because that is all I received for 2 weeks. But I thought he put in a great performance then and a great performance now. Like, I think he's stepping up to the table.
Yeah, he's different than Sergio. Like, I think Sergio is obviously that like really progressive like wing back, whereas Joe Scally's a little bit more stay at home and
American.
Still can advance, but you know he's just a little bit more solid. It'll be really interesting watching the progression of Reyna. He's taking up way more of like an 8 role, like a box to box, a little bit more like composure than what we've seen. But I will say that man, when he needs to break away into space, quick burst of step and can draw fouls like no other. I mean, I think in the
He
first half
also
alone,
loves a tackle too. He's
Loves it.
like when he drops into
Yeah.
that 8 roll, he's willing to put in a tackle too.
yeah, I think that it'll be
I feel
interesting
like he's
to
also
watch
a wild
through
card
this
with his
tournament.
tackles.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a winger turned center midfielder.
That's
you know,
that's a Bruno Fernandes trying to put a tackle in is what he looks like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we gotta
true,
love
true,
it.
true,
But I think not only for this tournament, but I think for his career moving forward, to show that at a top level he can play that center midfield role will be really fascinating. So, U.S. 2-0 victory, nothing to get too high on. I think our next game is against Panama, which if we win that one too, we can pretty much wrap up the group. Uruguay is our third game. It would turn into like subs against subs, which is exactly where you want to be going into that third game. So, all good things with the Copa America. But Nikki, I believe you have a factor cap for us to end on tonight.
I do have a factor cap to end on it. And to be fair, I'm very happy where some of our conversations went with the Euros because I think the factor cap will play perfectly on that. Boys, fact or cap? When the Euros have completed and it is all said and done, will Gareth Southgate still be the coach for England?
Oh,
Damn.
No,
I'm gonna.
no.
100%
Yeah, I'm
no.
saying no.
Unless they win, he's gone, and I don't think they're going to win. I think the only way he keeps his job is if I think that the FA, whoever the fuck runs it, is like, dude, you have all, yeah, sure, Gary Neville and the rest of his Salford City crew.
So then, do you almost?
I think he's gone.
As an England fan, do you almost want England to lose then? Like,
I think
if they win
it's kind of
and
like,
then he's still the coach again, like, are you thrilled that he's your coach going into the World Cups?
I mean, bro,
I
it's
would.
like it's the same exact scenario in the Copa for me. Like I literally said this like yesterday to Hen. I was like, part of me wants us to crash out of this tournament because then Greg's for sure gone. But part of me is like we kind of have a golden generation to where like I do want us to do well and show that we can beat top teams in the world. Ours is different because we haven't made it to a World Cup semifinal. So that's why I think that with this talent, like if they don't win, I think he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a world in which they do win. I think watching them play and seeing the glaringly obvious holes that are in that team. I mean, we haven't even talked about the fact that we don't have a left back playing. Kieran Trippier is playing left back. It looks terrible at the left back position.
Sorry.
I mean,
yeah, you keep doing that, dude. You keep doing that, dude.
When I hear we, I'm thinking USA, brother.
But like, and we're just a bunch of like guys who played footy at one time and are just fans now. But like, there are other professional coaches, scouts, analysts that are like looking at that England squad, knowing where to attack. I cannot see a world that they win. And I think that like Gareth is going to be looked back on with like high regard from the England fans, being like, he took us from you have to also look at after the golden generation with like that Dobes talked about with like Lampard, Scholes and all those guys. There was a huge gap in England's tenure that was horrible. It was so bad. And so I think that people will look back fondly on Gareth South. It was bad, Nick. It was like a starting lineup.
It wasn't but that starting lineup smokes majority of USA's. So like it wasn't bad. Like it was just bad for England.
Go back and look at the lineups. It was like
qualify for World Cups.
Yeah, it was like the
starting
lineup.
World Cups.
Andy Carroll was leading the line for England, bro. It was bad.
And I would think Andy Carroll would start for our team in his prime.
I mean, it's just like,
where did the U.S. come into this, though?
I'm sorry, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why I'm taking that.
Like I don't know where the U.S. is coming from.
I was just
England is here, brother. We are here. Dude.
That's what I'm saying, though. When him saying it was very, very bad, like it was very bad for England.
Bad.
Like they were still doing well comparative to the rest of the world, I would assume.
I just don't see a way that he would be the coach. Yeah,
he gone.
Butchie, what do you think?
No, he's gone. I think I'm with Dobes and all of you guys. He's gone.
I think it would be. Oh, sorry, Butch, keep going. Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. I was just gonna say, if I'm gonna predict and be honest with you, I'm gonna be bold here. I think England crash out in the round of 16.
Yeah.
So if that happens, he's literally gone within 10 hours of
the next
them
day
crashing out. So that's my prediction.
That's a good prediction.
I think if they were smart, they get rid of him after group and they have a new coach for knockouts. I think
They're
that
going
would
to
be
pull
that won't-
Senegal.
I think that would
That
be
won't happen.
insane.
Senegal in the AFCON, baby.
Yeah, I would love that.
Just because I looked it up, Nikki, I'm going to read out the Euro 2012 England lineup to you.
Bro,
Goalkeepers:
please do.
Joe Hart, Robert Green, and John Rudy. I'll give you
Joe Hart is
$20
better
if
than
you can
any
tell me who.
goalkeeper we've ever had.
I'll
No,
give you
bro,
$20
no.
if you can tell me
Tim
who John
Howard,
Rudy is.
dude.
Defenders: Leighton Baines, Gary Cahill, Ashley Cole, Glenn Johnson, Phil Jones, Jolien Lescott, and John Terry. Midfielders:
I'm taking all those over the back fours that we've ever had.
Gareth Barry, Stuart Downing, Gerard Lampard, James Milner, Oxlade Chamberlain, Scott Parker, Theo Walcott, and Ashley Young. Strikers of Andy Carroll, Jermaine Defoe, Wayne Rooney,
I
and
would
Danny
take
Webb.
our entire midfield over that whole midfield.
Insane. 2012.
Yeah, I still think that it's a decent squad, but
So the Mecca believes that Gareth Southgate's going to get axed after this tournament. I think it's by mutual agreement, so Southgate can try to get a job after that, and we'll see. But this time next week, we'll be coming back to you with a whole new episode of the Mecca of Banter podcast. Thank you for listening. I want to encourage you to visit manscaped.com. Use promo code MECCA20, MECCA20. For 20% off and free shipping. Follow us on all the socials. Be part of the 48,000 people interacting with our tweets at the moment. And until next time, go Oilers. Game 7 tonight of the NHL playoffs. We're all throwing
He's a
bags.
wizard. He's a wizard.
Oilers.
Connor McPotter.
who are they playing? Who are they playing?
Fellas, good work tonight. Cheers.